So the first thing I need to do is get to work on the wet ingredients for the batter. Super easy cake. We just throw everything into 2 bowls, mix it together, and we're good to go. So the first thing we need for our wet ingredients is, weirdly, sugar. Sugar in baking is actually considered a wet ingredient because as you add liquid to it, it melts, right? So that is technically a liquid ingredient. So we're gonna go in with 1 cup of brown sugar. Now, I love brown sugar because it gives that kind of molassesy flavor, which, if you ever have a rum, is the flavor of molasses. You know what I mean? Also something that is from sunnier climates, so very good. So I'm gonna go in with that. If you don't have brown sugar, you could definitely do white sugar, or you could do white sugar with a little bit of molasses as well, just to add that like nice kind of dark sugary flavor. Now into there, we're gonna go in with our olive oil. As opposed to using butter or regular oil, the olive oil is gonna give a really nice, bright, kind of floral note. Now I will warn you, if you taste the batter, it's gonna taste really olive oily, but once it cooks out, it gets really round and nice. So I'm going in with 1/2 cup of olive oil. Gonna give that a little bit of a mix. And then I'm gonna go in with my eggs. Now I'm using 2 eggs here, always using large eggs. I think the only person who writes recipes with a different size egg is my girl, Ina Garten. She always asks for an extra large egg, and I'm like, Ina, no one's buying those for baking. But you know what? You do you. I love it. She can do no wrong. All right, 2 eggs are going right on in. I'm gonna give that a little beat to combine. Now, since this is an oil-based cake as opposed to a butter-based cake, we don't actually have to cream this. Creaming is the process of really kind of vigorously mixing butter and sugar together. That builds a little bit of air in there, makes it fluffy. Oil cakes are nice and dense and they stay really like kind of moist for longer, but you don't need to actually beat them up as much. So super easy, really good to go. Then we're gonna go in with something else that's gonna make this cake last for a few days on the counter. It's gonna give it really a ton of like moisture and deliciousness. We're gonna go in with a cup of plain yogurt. I'm not talking Greek yogurt, I'm talking like Balkan style yogurt. If you only had vanilla yogurt on hand, that would also work here, but I like the plain yogurt. It adds a little bit of acidity, which is gonna help kind of lift the cake up a bit. Now, for that vanilla flavor, obviously we're gonna go in some vanilla. 1.5 teaspoons. If you're using vanilla yogurt, you can pull back a little bit there. Then for that orange flavor, I'm gonna go in with the zest and juice of an orange. Now this feels kind of funny. Whenever you're writing a recipe and you call for like the juice of 1 orange, you're like, what if the orange is super juicy? What if it's not super juicy? I have done it with both types of oranges. It works every time, so it's all good. All right, add in that beautiful zest because that's gonna give you a ton of that bright citrusy flavor without that acidity. And then the juice is gonna obviously give you that classic orange juice flavor. So cut that in half. I think this is a Cara orange, everybody. That's a nice orange. This is my mom's favorite orange. Fun fact. All right, going in with the juice as well. If you got one of those fancy juicers, feel free to use it. I do not. They always seem to get stuck in my drawer, so I'm like, nope, don't want that anymore. All right, go on in, give that a whisk. And that is it for the wet ingredients. Now, for the dry ingredients, we just need to mix them in a separate bowl. Anytime you're making a cake, mixing them in a separate bowl, make sure you don't have to over-mix the batter as it comes together, which is a dream because then it won't get tough. So I'm gonna go in with 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, just standard all-purpose. And then in addition to that, we're going in with 1/2 cup of cornmeal. Now, I always have cornmeal on hand. It's really, really great if you're stuck and you don't have anything kind of starchy to eat for dinner. You can make polenta with this. It's really great as a base for a pizza crust, kind of to make it not stick. And it's delicious in a cake. It gives like a little bit of a toothiness. Doesn't make it cornbready, just a little bit more texture. Now, for that lift, I'm going in with 1 teaspoon each of baking powder and baking soda. If your baking soda is a little on the clumpy side, I would sift it, but if not, you are good to go. 1/2 teaspoon of salt is also going in just to counteract all that sugar and that sweetness. Give that a whisk to combine, and that is it for the dry ingredients. Now, when you are making anything with cornmeal, whether it's cornbread or this cake, you actually want to set the batter once you mix it together aside for a little bit because that's going to allow that cornmeal to hydrate and give you a better texture in the end. If you don't have time, the cake will still come out. It just will be a little bit crumblier as opposed to soft and fluffy. So give that a good whisk to combine. Beautiful. It's a nice kind of thick batter, and you can almost feel, as soon as you start mixing it together, you can almost feel the chemical reaction happening between the baking soda and baking powder and that yogurt and that little bit of orange juice to give you that lift. All right, looking beautiful. Gonna set that aside. And again, you'd wanna let that hydrate for about 20 minutes. I'm gonna pretend 20 minutes has passed in about 2 minutes. But stick with me. All right, now I have got a pan here, and I prepared that by spraying that with a little bit of nonstick cooking spray, and I put down a round of parchment paper. That's because we're gonna make this like an upside down cake. So for that kind of layer upside down, I have got 2 oranges here that we've just peeled. I'm just gonna thinly slice those, just to kind of almost make like a, kind of like a stained glass window effect on the bottom or top of this cake. This is where you could get fun too. If you have different types of oranges that have different color, you could use those. You could do a little grapefruit in here too for a little bit of kind of bitterness. Just slice as many as you need, and then just start laying them along the bottom of the pan. And okay, so we're doing an upside down cake, pretty side down. Does that make sense? Because that's gonna be the top once we get done. So that guy, he's kind of sad. He's going upside down and we're good to go. No one's gonna know or see. But just get it all in there just so you've got a nice kind of base. If there's some gaps and stuff, you can cut your oranges a little bit different just to make sure they all fit. But honestly, just this is gonna bring juiciness and a little bit of steam to the cake as well, which is gonna make it cook up really nice. So again, 20 minutes has passed. We're gonna go in with that batter right on top of those oranges. And do you see the like little kind of bubbles that are happening in there? That's gonna make that light and fluffy and absolutely beautiful. All right, spread that out. That's gonna go into a 350-degree oven for about 40 to 45 minutes, just until a toothpick inserted into the center comes out clean. Once that's done, let it cool in the pan for 15 minutes before flipping it. You want the starches to gelatinize and hold, because when that happens, you're gonna end up with something that looks like this. So bright. Sunshine on a plate. Now, if you wanted to, you could serve this just like this. That caramelization around the side is an absolute dream. But I always want something creamy with my cake, especially if it's not a decorated cake or an iced cake. So I'm gonna do a little whipped ricotta. So I have got a cup of ricotta in my food processor here. We're gonna go in with about 2 tablespoons of whipping cream. Not 100% necessary, but it does help it whip up a little bit better. For sweetness, I'm gonna go in with a tablespoon of some honey. You could also do maple syrup here, but honey and orange. You do a little cinnamon in there too if you want. Little bit of vanilla, just to kind of bring everything together. If you wanted to as well, a little orange zest would be really nice in there. And I just want to give that a blitz until it's a little bit light and fluffy. I like to do it in a food processor because it kind of helps lift it up really easily. It's gonna start, oh, here we go. Here we go. We nailed it. Okay, cool, that's it. Because when you first mix it, it's a little grainy because ricotta does have a little bit of texture to it. But once you mix it enough, it gets light and fluffy and creamy, almost like super softly whipped cream. Beautiful, beautiful. All right. Now, last but not least, to serve up this beautiful cake, all you need to do, you could dollop this on top, but I am just gonna do, actually, you know what? I am gonna dollop it on top. I didn't know what I was gonna do. Cut a slice of that beautiful cake. That orange is kind of steamed into the cake, so it's got a really nice texture. You get that cornmeal for a little bit of bite. It's fluffy, it's moist, it looks absolutely out of control. Pop it down on your plate, little bit of this cream right on top, kind of draping off the side. Get out of here. Dream. Hey, Mary here. What did you think? Drop your comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more of the good stuff.